Ukraine, the world has been horrified by what happened in Dnipro over the weekend, and this brutal attack only reinforces President Zelensky's requests for more weapons, including long-range missiles from the United States, tanks, fighter jets, ATACMS, obviously Apaches, whatever else they need. The Foreign Secretary has said that we need to go further and faster and give them what it takes to win. Why has the United States not provided more of these long-range weapons, more of these systems? And Mr. Foreign Secretary, the U.S. has said that they are concerned about Russia's response, about provoking a further escalation. Is that not a concern for Great Britain, or do you think that that is overstated and that there is a greater need, as you have certainly expressed by your own actions? Thank you.
I'm happy to kick it off. Andrew, thank you. First, I think it's important to say that as this aggression has evolved, so too has our assistance to Ukraine, making sure that it has what it needs to meet the aggression head on. And as I said before, that started long before the Russian aggression, when we saw the storm clouds gathering in the months before the aggression. We initiated what we call drawdowns of our own military equipment to Ukraine to make sure that it had on hand what it would need if Russia went through with the aggression. So Stingers, Javelins, all of those were provided initially around Labor Day a year ago, and then again before Christmas. So this is months before the Russian aggression. The result of that was that when Russia went in, when they attacked, the Ukrainians had on hand what they needed to repel the effort to take Kyiv, to take the whole country. And then, of course, the war has evolved. The aggression has evolved. It moved to the south and the east, and that's where it's been. But if you look at the trajectory from Stingers to Javelins to HIMARS to Bradley fighting vehicles to Patriot missile batteries, we have continuously provided what Ukraine needs. And we're doing it in a way make sure that it's responsive to what's actually happening on the battlefield, as well as projecting where it might go, making sure as well that the Ukrainians are trained on the systems that were provided, that they have the ability to maintain the systems, because if they're not trained and the systems can't be maintained, it's not going to do you very much good for very long. So all of these things taken together have been critical to the success that Ukraine has had to date. It starts with their own courage and resilience, but it's certainly been strongly supported by our two countries and many other countries, and we continue to adapt along the way. Now, all of that totals, on the part of the United States, some $25 billion in security assistance to Ukraine over less than a year. And I would anticipate that you'll hear more announcements in the days to come. There'll be a meeting again at the end of the week of the so-called Ramstein group that Secretary Austin put together to make sure that we're coordinating security assistance among many countries. So stay tuned for more on that. But the bottom line is we are determined to make sure that Ukraine has what it needs to succeed on the battlefield. As we've said, the fastest way to bring this war to a just and durable end, to get to diplomacy, to get to a negotiation, is to give Ukraine a strong hand on the battlefield. That's exactly what we're doing. Last thing I'll say, just because I have the opportunity to address this, there had been a narrative that the Russians were trying to push for many weeks and many months that they're interested in diplomacy. Ukraine and we are not. That, of course, is entirely false, but I think you only have to look at Putin's own words in a recent conversation with President Erdogan of Turkey, in which he says, unless and until Ukraine accepts the new territorial realities, as he put it, there's nothing to negotiate. In other words, unless and until Ukraine acknowledges and accepts the fact that territory that Russia has seized by force, it's not getting back, there's nothing to negotiate. That, of course, is in and of itself a non-starter.
Andrew, look, I said in my opening remarks, and I'm going to reinforce it here, we should never lose sight of the fact that the United States of America is the single largest donor of military and economic aid to support Ukraine's self-defense of any country in the world. The UK is very proud to be number 2 in that pecking order. And it's very easy to get focused on individual equipment types. And of course, tanks are the headline of today. But in our package of military support, there were heavy artillery, the AS-90 system and the M109 system, the 155 caliber guns, as well as 105 caliber guns, as well as 100,000 rounds of artillery ammunition, millions of rounds of small arms ammunition. That was part of the package that we put forward. But we should also recognise the importance of the Patriot missile system. This is an incredibly sophisticated and important piece of air defence equipment. We've seen the horrors that Ukraine is having to endure because of air attacks, and so those air defence missile systems, the 50-plus Bradley armoured fighting vehicles that were recently announced. These are really significant, meaningful donations to the military effort. From the UK's point of view, we certainly value the long-standing commitment that the United States of America has made, the contributions that we're making in the UK, both in terms of equipment and training. We do so standing shoulder to shoulder with the United States of America, as we have done throughout this. I was at the United Nations Security Council meeting, literally sitting next door to Secretary Blinken, when we together warned the world of what Putin was about to do. We knew what his intention was. We provided that warning to the world, and we have both physically and metaphorically been shoulder to shoulder in our condemnation of Putin's actions and our support to Ukraine ever since. And I think it's really important the American people recognise what their own government is doing in support of freedom and in opposition to this aggression and oppression.
Nick Allen.